Vegas lost to Pittsburgh on Saturday. And now this week we can expect one big change from the Raiders here. They actually announced that they are going to bench Derek Carr, Jarrett Stidham. He is going to get the start this weekend. Carr leads the league with 14 interceptions. We were kind of thrown off when we saw that stat this morning. So are you surprised that the Raiders decided to make this move?
When you lead the league in interceptions, no, I'm not. They have a chance to get back into the top 5 in the draft. And if it means benching Derek Carr, you got to do that. There have been a lot of guys emotional there in Vegas. That guy, Derek Carr, being one of them, we saw him just a couple weeks ago crying at the podium about how hard guys work and for the bad results to still be coming. You hear all the swears from Josh Jacobs, who's having a fantastic year, by the way, the best season of his career. They're still losing. It doesn't matter. Devontae Adams doing Devontae Adams things on a weekly basis. Doesn't matter. It's one of those situations where it's like, all right, at some point, something has to give. You changed coaches twice, and the quarterback has remained the same. You added all these weapons, everybody picking the Raiders to go to the Super Bowl, be a really good team, and they have not been. At some point, the common denominator is Derek Carr.
Yeah, I see why they're doing it. It's interesting that they're trying to spin this as, trying to see the youth and give other guys a chance, see what they have. And I do understand that a little bit, because if you are thinking about, okay, what pieces can we see in the draft, or what do the quarterbacks look like? You do want to see what is actually on your roster. But I imagine that this was a really tough conversation and tough decision. We were talking about the emotions in that locker room. But this is absolutely a disaster. This is a season where if you want to say, okay, who's been the hottest messes, they'd be in that conversation.
It's one of those things where if Derek Carr was a bad guy, maybe this happens a while ago, but so many people like Derek Carr, not only in the Raiders organization, but around the NFL. I don't imagine that it's hard to picture him being the Raiders quarterback next year with no more guaranteed money being on his deal. But there's plenty of teams around the NFL that would like to have a Derek Carr as opposed to their current quarterback situation.
Well, that's the thing, is that he's a good quarterback. It's not like he's a bad guy.
He's just not great.
It's just something, exactly. Is he a difference maker? And he started every game for the Raiders since 2017. He was a huge reason why Devontae Adams came to the Raiders. So they, of course, had to give him a chance there to establish that chemistry with Devontae Adams, a longtime friend of his, former roommate. But it's clearly something has to change. Like you said, Josh Jacobs, he is playing at an elite level, and they changed, got new coaches. There's that one constant, like you said, it has been Derek Carr, but they gotta switch something up, and they also have to decide if they want to bring Carr back next year, right? Stidham, he hasn't started. He's making his first start this weekend, so maybe they're trying to see what their options are. And so when they only have a couple games left this season, let's see what Stidham can do.
You mentioned that he's started every game since 2017, and the note was that the last quarterback who started a game before Derek Carr did for the Raiders with E.J. Manuel, who I now do radio with every single week. And so now I'm picturing him and his newborn, and I'm just like, wow, it does feel like it's been a minute since he was an NFL quarterback. And so that really does speak to, the longevity of some of these quarterbacks in the NFL, and I think we're at that phase now, not just with Derek Carr, because I do think he's going to land somewhere, but you are seeing that turnover, and you are seeing people handing keys to newer guys, younger guys, and seeing what happens. And so it's also part of a larger trend of where the NFL is. And what we were talking about earlier, you have to make a change. You have to do something. If fans are too upset unless you try something new.
And clearly the locker room, there is some turmoil there. Once you lose the players in the locker room, he was crying at the podium just a few weeks ago, you got to do something about it.
In a draft that's not necessarily quarterback heavy, getting in that top 5 is super important this year as opposed to next.